I've made a huge commitment that if it all happens, will happen this fall in November, and that is to be in Ironman Florida. I was diagnosed with cancer in April of 2010, and those first 4 months were just a blur, and there was just surgery and sickness and several near-death experiences from complications and just crazy things that went on. Finally, about the middle or the end of June, I stabilized enough that I could kind of recalibrate and look at life and say, okay, where to from here? Ironically, right at that time, in our town, they were putting on a triathlon, and it was the early stages of this thinking in my mind changing, of saying, you know what, I can lay down and just say, well, I guess I'm screwed and I'm going to die of cancer, or I can stand up and say, no, I'm going to fight today. And so I got this crazy idea, in spite of the fact that I was sicker than I've ever been in my life, that I was going to do this triathlon. The morning of the triathlon, I went there and I was sick, and I was a mess. I was this just scrawny little sickly looking cancer patient, but I didn't care, and it was awesome for me. I got in the lake with everybody and I swam, and it was awesome. I was swimming and crying, and I was just weeping because I was living. And that was what was so cool to me. It was like, I'm not dying right now, I'm living. Well, that's kind of how I got drawn into the triathlon community. After that, then I went into chemo and radiation, and I was sick, and I didn't do any of that kind of stuff for a long time. But as I started getting better a couple years ago, I still wanted to return to that, and I said, I want to keep doing this stuff. In October of 2015, here coming up, will be my 5-year anniversary of being cancer-free. That's when they officially declared me in remission. Well, ironically, Florida is November 7th, right after I was declared in remission. So one night, some of my buddies were out at the house, and we were talking about that. And I said, guys, what if we did something huge and signed up for Ironman Florida to celebrate that I'm not dead, that I made it 5 years? And they all were like, we're in. And so a minute later, we were on YouTube watching videos of Ironman Florida, and we all looked at each other and like, this is completely crazy, but let's do it. Let's try it. An Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim in the ocean, followed by a 112-mile bike ride, followed by a full marathon run at the end, a 26.2 mile run at the end. An Ironman is not something that you just wake up and say, I'm going to tough this thing out. You have to be prepared for it. You have to train for it. And so we are 5 months, a little less than 5 months out, and we're into it pretty heavy, but we train hours and hours a week. My hope is that by telling my story of my Ironman journey, it'll open up lots of doors to tell people about how Christ has been at the center of this whole 5-year process. So that's why I'm doing it. When you tell somebody that you're signed up to do Ironman Florida, it's a great conversation starter. And in the midst of telling my cancer story and telling my Ironman story, it gives me awesome open doors to tell God's stories. And that's why I believe this whole thing has ever happened in the first place, was to give us inroads into people's hearts. The cancer community is very tight. Those of us that have been down this road, there is a connection that you feel. I remember when we were in California, we had the opportunity to take the kids to Disneyland, and I was sick and walking through the park. I think I was maybe even in a wheelchair. Sarah was pushing me, and I saw this young kid who I immediately could tell was a cancer patient. And there was a connection, and I'd never seen him before. And I just got up and I walked over and I just put my arms around him, and we cried, and I told him I was proud of him. And there's a connection there because we've walked down similar roads. And the same is true of Ironman. Ironman is hard. It's a tight community of people. And so I've loved having the opportunity to be a part of that. I don't want to take cancer laying down. If it kills me, I want it to know it had the fight of its life to get me. So that's it.
In our blessings, the Lord whispers, and when we're struggling and during our storms, the Lord yells.
For me, this is not about being healed from cancer. This is about God asking me, Brad, do you trust me with your life?
Just keep trusting in Him and things will get better.
We had to be flexible and we had to just do what we needed to do.
I really honestly just thought he had a fever.